Hello there folks, welcome back to my YouTube channel, a place where I discuss different topics like spirituality, deeper introspection, dream interpretation, game analysis, and well other topics depending on what people might request of me. So I was listening to some Viking music or ambiental music, Nordic ambience or whatever people might call it, and well I instantly got nudged at, with a video idea, this time on sympathy towards death. And well, the topic of death uh, you know, in a sense of the word. Okay, so I've made yesterday a video about the mind and the power of the mind. And well, the mind is basically a very powerful tool to use, but again, used in whatever way, it can be powerful. It can pull us up or it can pull us down based on how we use it. Okay, just like the car, it can go frontally, it can go backwards. Not taken care of, it can even go by itself. When it's on a slope and you forget to pull the brakes. Okay, that's exactly what the mind is like. So the point about this was, as I was, like scrolling through the videos while listening to that and working on my project in RPG Maker, and figuring out how to create a new tile for the map, I suddenly stumbled upon a video called Doom Metal. I never knew there's something like that, but I simply saw a skull in it, and a gray skull seen from an angle, and I instantly, got this idea that, sympathizing with the idea of death, okay, and what exactly is death, and uh, why is it that people fear this death of, as if it is or it would be something highly dangerous, or, it's basically something so gruesome, okay. Now, first of all, people who end up living too much in the mind, it can end up as being very powerful because the mind has so many layers, and its greatest power is to give you a sensation of knowledge. You're having the impression that you have power through your own knowledge. Western society is based on knowledge equals power, but knowledge is just a simple way, or one of the ways actually, not necessarily a simple one, but it is one of the ways in which people can simply understand things. But why do you think it's called understanding? Okay, it's a sense of perception, a sense of acquiring well, you get to know something, but it's not necessarily that which truly is. When we use the mind, we kind of minimize things because we create something to make sense for us. But in many situations, it makes only sense for us. That is why public speaking, for example, is much more difficult than it may sound. Not because, of the pressure that one might feel, and I really don't know why you would feel pressure. You just have a simple objective, and that's all. You must go there, and you have to present a certain message, and that's it. But people create too much, drama in their life, too much, the circus in their mind, the theater in their mind is always fully functional because people haven't been taught how to make a great use of their mind and emotions. So all these being taken into consideration, um, the point is, when the mind is not, easily controlled, or let's not say control because it has usually a bad connotation, but when people don't know how to make great use of their mind, the point is it will kind of end up turning against them. So when such a tool turns against yourself, it's like in a video game, every time you want to do something, you do it in the reverse. You want to stab someone, you get it back, right? Like those trap cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! You damage the opponent, they activate a trap card, and you take the damage instead. I think it was Dimension Wall, and there was also Magic Cylinder. So yeah, that's one point. So the mind is a double-edged sword that, if not used correctly, it can also hurt. Because the problem with public speaking is not your message that you put out. It's how identified people are with numerous things. Now, I am saying this is very simple because when people identify with something, they instantly become capable of dying for that. And that's how the intellect functions. And well, when you're capable of dying for something, you're synonymously, you know, capable of killing for that, which is not a right way. It's not a right or bright way either to go. Now, to move even further, the point about this is, well, the mind can be very powerful, but you have to understand the mind is basically nothing. It is just a blackboard, a whiteboard, or I don't know. It is basically nothingness which we fill with meaning. But meaning is only there to give us an impression of knowledge, okay? You can watch a tree without calling it a tree. You can watch any object without giving them a name. That's basically what a child does. But then the parents, fill the child's mind with all those things that didn't serve them necessarily like meanings and the such, because people have this great sense of knowledge and belonging to a nationality, belonging to something. They really want to be classified. They really want to belong to something, and hence a reason why we have societies, and well, the reason why we have so many things nowadays, all these classifications. Some of them, yes, are still used to distract people and, well, to control us in one way or another. But to a certain extent, such control is also useful because think about all the ignorance that has sprung in the world. If all that ignorance is let loose without any sort of control, then a mass extinction of our race and, well, many other species definitely uh, is definitely short underway. So death is one of those concepts, just like life, which cannot be, it cannot be explained. Because there are a lot of things that the mind cannot explain. Okay, the mind is represented by the first three chakras of the body. Now, the body is said to have 114 chakras, so definitely the entirety of the body and all the dimensions of experience are far beyond the mind, which is only represented by three chakras. So, people who experience, okay, the mind and live in the mind, basically they will place the most attention on their three lower chakras, okay, which are also the chakras of survival and the physical body, okay. The first chakra, the Muladhara, is, physical survival, and well, the second one is societal survival, okay, your relationship with yourself and especially with the others, okay, your family, your nation, your whatever. And then your third chakra is that of personal power, okay, the mind, the ego. Now, when I say ego, many people are probably stuck in the aspect of, something bad, okay? Now, the ego is just a creation, okay? It is just a mask that people have to put on in order to be someone. If you look at successful people who also appear on the television, they also use egos because one ego is, I don't know, the public speaker, one ego is the plan maker, one ego is, I don't know, the business dealer, one ego is the one who discusses with people, one ego or several housekeeping and family caring, right? For every action there must be an ego, but the problem is people fail to be a state machine, okay? Because, well, ever since I started programming, I realized that basically everything is kind of a state machine. Now, what a state machine basically means in programming is just like your gearbox. It has a finite number of states, okay, and usually only one can be functional at any given time. There may be situations in which two can be, but usually one only is functional, just like your gearbox. Your car is only in one gear at any given moment, and it will perform based on that. So in programming, or well, it's called a switch case in some cases, but you can build the state machine in other ways most likely. Um, it is just a set of conditions, and if any of those conditions is met, then the code in there is executed. Similar to this, you can take your emotional system, right? When you are sad, you're definitely sad and you cannot feel and even think ideas of happiness, okay? That's one point of sadness, that's one point of happiness, okay? When you're feeling an emotion, you're definitely not able of thinking thoughts, outside that. You might try, but again, emotions are very slow and sluggish. When they settle in, they're gonna take a while to leave. And well, the only reason why you feel emotions is because you're already drenched in those. Now, the point about us is we are trying to, use this tool, okay, of understanding, but the mind is only useful for our survival, okay? All the knowledge that we have helps us survive, and I've said in my previous video that the mind seeks two things and two things only. It seeks comfort and it also seeks survival. And usually comfort and survival don't go well together. Because think about animals, okay? Animals always seek comfort, but the only comfort they can get is the comfort of a satiated belly, okay? When they're no longer hungry. But again, in the world they live, there is always one danger. In our world as well, because we also live in urban jungles, most of us, well, there's always different dangers as well. You don't have lions to eat you or something like that, but in the jungle it's just something very easy, okay? An animal comes, they kill you, and that's it. But in the human jungle, well, you have people who like torturing you emotionally, okay? They don't kill you, they just kill you painfully and slowly because, well, that's the only thing they know. Okay, they always cause pressure on you. They always do whatever they can to you, and also, the judicial system doesn't seem to focus these too much. Okay, people who abuse other people rarely, get punished because the people who are abused usually break one way or another, and they are the ones who get punished because they break sooner or later, right? Some spiritual preachers or whatever you may call them might call this, karma or karmic day debt repayment or whatever you want to call it. I'm no longer in the pursuit of such ideas because again these ideas belong too much to the mind, okay? So the point about this is the mind is a way to understand things, okay, not overstand. You see, the truth can never be understood. It can only be experienced. That is why when you speak your truth, when you speak your own experiences to other people, that's the reason why they might laugh in your face because they haven't experienced the pains you have gone through and therefore they haven't realized the truths you have experienced, okay? Most likely they have their own, but take this as them not being ready to accept your lessons, okay? Because just because you have some experience, it doesn't mean that everyone will benefit from that. Theoretically, yes, but most likely many people won't accept that because, well, they are who they are after all. So to move even further, mm, let's see, how do we put this? So understanding hypercomplex things like life, consciousness, and death. Well, there is no such thing as death, but, well, Christianity made it and turned it into such a hideous, horrendous thing, right? That nowadays people have accumulated so much pain from that karma, okay? Which karma means nothing else than memory. There is a very great, profound aspect, okay, that stems from narcissism, okay? Because Christianity was built on narcissism, okay? Wherever there's religions that usually, that, uh, monotheist religions, they always present a male god. I honestly haven't heard of any monotheist religion that has a female goddess, but in Europe it was easy to see. While Christianity started settling in due to, a lot of narcissistic folks simply being at a rulership, and if you don't believe me that narcissism was built on religion, like a religion like Christianity was built on narcissism, well, just take a look at it. It worships only a male god, and the question is, why would the creator of this whole universe be a male? Okay, as a creator, why wouldn't they have any shape? Why wouldn't they have any shape in the first place? right? And they also are given a name, and well, the second commandment says don't believe in false idols. But we have created a name, we have created a shape, and we are actually revering it. And well, a lot of murders and things like that have been done in the name of that uh, concept, okay? I've presented this in another video, and well, you see, all the entities that we create, all our thoughts that we create kind of mental parasites, okay, that we end up feeding. And then those beings can end up being fed upon by different parasites like demons and the such. And I'm not going to dive into this because there's a lot of fuzziness for me, so I don't want to share things that may not, serve people that much. But feel free to interpret these, but again, interpretation means usage of the mind, so don't fall for your imagination, okay? Because the mind's power is to show you something and you'll instantly believe it because, well, that's the power of the mind. Why do you think mentalists are so powerful? Because they are just exploiting this feature. They are showing you something and, well, they make you believe that it is real. So, this is something that has been, presented as being something hideous. Why has it been turned like that? Because this is the most hideous thing for a narcissist, okay? Because the narcissist has to create these awesome personalities, okay, to hide away their pains and run away from themselves. What I see narcissism like is like being a shuttle desperately running away from a black hole, right? And you're in the gravitational pull and you have to do everything possible to run away from the black hole because the black hole, what black hole actually is, it is nothing. Sure, science will come with saying that, it is a mass, it is a gaseous mass or plasma or whatever. No, a black hole is basically nothing. It is just pure force, okay? It is just pure force, and that force is basically nothing, okay? Because even gravity is nothing. How this force exists? Well, there is a complex aspect to it, and well, I'm not gonna present much, but it is said that gravity is formed when a curvature occurs in the dimension of time, which is uh, linear. When a curvature occurs, okay, time starts moving in a circle. The circle can be big or small, but well, it is basically a timed circle. Okay, when the circle fulfills, the time simply is ended. Okay, and well, that's the end of the so-called physical object, because everything that is physical can only be created through a form called gravity. The reason why our body is together is because of gravity, else all our particles would just go away. Okay, all these particles are held together by karma, okay, which is memory. How your DNA works and expands and how you become what you are now, and you become that just from a single cell, well, it's all based on karma, memory which is transmitted, and the coding within that, it's transmitted, and well, it spreads and spreads and spreads, and it just does its thing. Okay, it has main cells, which primordial cells, which spread into primary cells and secondary cells. Now, I don't know if these are the same uh, names in English. Like in my language, this is how we would call them, and they all follow their own coding, because there's always a code behind everything. Okay, now of course, as a programmer, I would tend to see it like this, but there are many other interpretations. Now, an interpretation again is subjectivity, and subjectivity can also be a self-destruction button, because when you give meaning to something, make sure you don't identify with it, because as I said it, you might become uh, you know capable of living for it, okay, and even dying for it. So the point about this, okay, is the mind is a powerful tool, but be very careful how you use it, okay? If you want to come up with definitions for things which are far beyond the mind, then you're doing nothing else than a failure. Why? Well, simply because when you want to identify life, okay? You cannot simply define life. There is no definition for life because the mind cannot comprehend life, okay? Sure, there are a lot of dictionary definitions and the such, but that is just a minimalized version of what life truly is in its complexities, okay? Many people have lived lifetimes in a row, specifically training themselves to experience life, and the most they could do was, become enlightened, okay? And when you become enlightened, it's basically you realize how much of a slave you are to your own mind, okay? It doesn't mean that all your problems are solved. You're still the same human. It's just that you finally have access to a lot of knowledge from the universe, okay? A lot of wisdom from the universe. And let's say you are more in tune with the Akash, okay? Or, well, the Akashic records, and, well, nowadays so many people prance around that, they are Akashic records readers and the such. Well, to each their own. So death as a point, okay, is the end of the mind, okay? It is the greatest fear of the mind, well, mainly because we program it to believe in that. The greatest fear of the mind is, well, the mind is basically nothing. It is a space which is blank because the child, when they are born, they know nothing. And, well, school, society, teachers, parents, friends, and anyone will fill your mind with all sorts of things. The more it expands, the more the mind is given tools to, well, screw you over because, well, that's the power of the mind. If you don't give it too much attention, the mind will simply be what it is. The more attention you give to it, well, it has more ways of actually fooling you around. That is why people who are illiterate usually have a better time because their minds being simple, they don't know much. Their minds they don't have so many ways of turning against them. And that's why people who know a lot of things might end up with a lot of troubles because both illiterate and literate people, most of them have never been taught, and also from their parents, generational karma, let's speak like that, okay? There are hundreds of generations before you that haven't been taught how to make great use of their mind and their emotions, right? So, this is a big problem because that memory, okay, will always seek to make itself manifest within you because conscious living means being capable of moving beyond the impulses, okay? And the mind, the conscious mind, well, it usually seeks to function on impulses because impulses are comfort zone. Okay, when you act on impulses, you are lying yourself that that is the way, that is the right thing to do, and well, you're technically embracing the comfort zone. Okay, and you only seek the comfort zone because you seek survival. It doesn't matter what you seek survival from, but if that is your belief, the mind will simply act based on that. So that belief that you're looking for, the comfort zone, okay, and specifically survival is because you are identified with a lot of things and beliefs that if you don't do this, if you don't think like that, your life will be shit, right? Just like at work, if you don't do your job, your life is finished, right? It's not that you can find another job. Well, in the Kant virus era, indeed there might be a problem, but you see, people fuss too much about the Kant virus because they don't have something special to do with their life. If they would have something special, okay, they would have little to worry about. I mean, if you worry about money a lot, that means putting a lot of emotion and a lot of image outside, right? According to what preachers say about the law of attraction, you're technically drawing that into your life even more. I'm not sure whether that is true or not because, well, I can't believe that something functions that way. Okay, I mean, you can dream of something as much as you want, but basically, dreaming is just like putting some seeds in the ground. If you don't water them, nothing will grow. That's the point. If you don't water them, nothing will grow. So, that is basically one point. So, is death something horrible? Well, first of all, we cannot even define death properly, because death is something beyond the mind, so the mind will never be capable of perceiving that. But death is just a cycle. To the narcissistic mind, it's gonna be the greatest punishment, because the narcissist easily become capable of, thinking that they are these grandiose, infinite, beings, okay, the embodiments of perfection. Now the problem is, death is that thing which takes everything away, because if they die, well, they kind of lose everything. So fear of death is kind of something a bit narcissistic, because you're afraid of losing everything that you think you have, okay? That you think you have. Because everything that you have is basically a loan, okay? You might be a billionaire, a multi-billionaire, or whatever, a trillionaire, okay, in the world, but all that is nothing but it's nothing else than a loan, okay? This body is basically a kind of a loan, because we haven't constructed it, okay? Our parents constructed it genetically, okay, through sexual intercourse, or, well, other means probably, I don't know exactly, but, you know, and, well, when the body was created, okay, the spirit, let's say, that represents us, okay, the spirit simply embarks on this physical body. So basically, it is already alone, and the planet takes it back at the end, okay? And, well, all the money that you make, they are also a kind of a loan, because you're not gonna take them with you in your next life anyways. You see, when death comes, everything that you've taken is gonna be taken back. Now, many of the people have been fooled by this, and they think that, well, if you're gonna die, what's the purpose of becoming rich? Well, there is no purpose in anything. Purpose means meaning, and meaning is a self-destruction button, okay? So, in your life, it should be something like, whatever I see is images, whatever I hear are sounds, okay? And, well, the meaning is only that which I give, okay? I give the meaning, but everything is just sounds and, well, visuals. So, just like in a video game, but the problem is many people identify themselves with the character, the story, and the such. And, well, are video games evil? Well, some people say so, but they don't understand one thing. Everything in this world is just a tool. How you make use of it, well, that depends to you. So, furthermore, whatever you learn from that, how you make use of to inspire others or to pull others down, well, again, that's something that regards you and only you. So to move even further, the point about this is, should death be something, despisable? Well, why would you think about it when in the end it's anyways gonna happen, okay? It is, the way through which the planet is taking back everything that we took as a loan. Why I'm saying this is very simple, because always, you will take more than you give. Okay? When you cut down a tree, you basically destroy, I don't know, X hundred years of evolution. Sure, in your mind, you might say that, you might want to argue, right, that, hey, but I've planted 1,000 trees. Why do you say that? You are saying that as if you are suffering, because you are believing that having cut down that tree, okay, you've angered some kind of god, and you're trying to justify yourself for your action. You've cut down a tree, you've taken the responsibility to do that, so basically that's it. Now, in that, you have killed hundreds of years of evolution. Sure, was that good, was that bad? That's debatable and depends per situation. If you plant 1,000 trees, those trees are saplings at a certain time, and then it takes a long time till they reach a certain age in which they can fully start creating oxygen back, okay? And in the meantime, that 100-year-old tree, or whatever its age was, well, it no longer does its own job. Is this something good? Is this something bad? Well, as I said, you will always take more than you will give, right? Because when you kill an animal, you've killed several years, or I don't know, a period of time of evolution. And I doubt you will put back in nature others, okay? Because usually you don't need to, right? Like our ancestors were always like that. They would kill a tiger or whatever animal, okay, and they would feed upon that, right? And when they would kill something, well, again, they would kill a period of evolution. Now, after they killed it, okay, and consumed it, they didn't bring something back other than the poo, okay, which also has its own, the dung also has its own purpose because there's always microorganisms that will thrive on that. So you do give something back. Okay, part of that becomes an accumulation, and basically the body shapes itself based on what you consume. So all this being said, okay, as I'm saying, death is not something that should be taken as something bad, of course, unless you are someone narcissistic. I mean, why are you afraid? Especially nowadays with the Kant virus, everything seems to be going down. Ask yourself a question. Do you really have anything to lose? Because narcissistic mentality is everywhere in this society. This society is shaped on narcissism because there is so much grandiosity in theoretically everything, especially in the Western worlds where people are rushing to reach nowhere, okay, in this illusion that they are living, okay, the American dream, the corporate dream, okay, it's like it's a dream just because it is not real. It's like wake up to this. It's a dream. It's called a dream because it's not real, okay. It's not happening in reality. You're just living the fantasy of movies which you've identified with because you most likely would want to live that happy clappy, family style that you see in the American movies or different such movies, okay? The unfortunate thing in a way is that, well, I can't call it unfortunate, but one point is people are actually trying to replicate the West, okay? They are giving up their own identities, their own customs and traditions to simply embrace a more Western lifestyle. I cannot condemn this, but point be said, it's like, well, okay, um, let's think about this. Uh, so, is there something bad? Well, this is kind of something that the mind will always try to distract you with. Why? Well, because any concept that the mind cannot understand, it will always be befuddling, it will always be confusing, and the mind will always do everything possible to, try to understand it. But just understand one thing. You cannot comprehend death mentally, even if the greatest mystics give you a definition to that, okay? It's still a minimized version, okay? Because basically when we are born, a curvature is born in time, okay? And it starts moving in a circle. That speed can be hastened or slowed, depending on how you treat your body, how you eat, how you do certain things, and well, each and everything has a smaller or greater impact on your lifespan. But again, the point is, well, when that circle is fulfilled, well, it is the time for the planet to take its loan back. Okay, so the mind will always try to distract you with all of these. Okay, and when it comes to death, it is unfathomable because the mind perceives itself as something that exists, and it cannot simply fathom the you know awkwardness of now I exist and then I suddenly no longer exist. It's like, okay, that's awkward. Like, how can that be, right? And especially when the mind tends towards narcissism, which again I'm saying this society is drenched in it, and also sociopathy because of a lot of generational memory, right? Of parents not knowing how to grow their children and giving birth to children in the not the right times, and they treat them like broken dolls that they want to put on a shelf, but the child has feelings, right? And well, it's gonna it's gonna last a while, okay? That karma will last a while, and well, the newer generations are more and more you know advanced in a way. They are better equipped to deal with such things. So all this being said, there is no definition to the aspect of death, but the mind will always try to distract you with things and questions about death, and those are just distractions. You don't need to give much attention, because the more attention you give to those questions, the more you dive into the mind and into its you know into its catacombs, let's say, right? It's always interested, just like the monkey, in doing whatever possible to draw your attention and keep you distracted from greater dimensions. Okay, as I've been saying, the mind's greatest fear is that of realizing that you actually, as a whole, you don't need the mind in the end. You don't need to use the mind. Okay, you're making use of it because we still live at a survival level. Okay, jobs and such, job meaning just over broke, and people kind of, out of poverty, they'll always be thinking about the mind, right? Making a lot of worries and fears about the future. But those fears and worries, they are nothing because they're just an incorrect usage of your mind. You're creating some movies in your mind, and those don't have any impact upon you, other than any meanings you may have acquired from other people and identified with because they make some sort of sense to your own mind. Okay, so the mind will always use such distractions to keep you away from who and what you are, and it will always even sympathize with death. Okay, because it wants you to understand what death is, so it will constantly bother you, and it will always ask for you to so-called become more introspective, okay? But becoming introspective is when you listen to your own self, not to your mind. Because when you listen to your mind, you give power to your imagination. The imagination is such a powerful tool to use, but again, if let unattended, it can create more than you may fathom. And you can see that in dreams, which, well, most of them are kind of illusions and nothing else than hallucinations. The point about dreams, yes, they are some sort of hallucination and, well, translations of what may happen when the mind ventures in different corners of itself. And, well, usually dreams are purging of karma. So when you have a certain dream, a certain thing happened and a part of the karma you had was simply vanished, okay? That is why in many cases dreams may not have much sense and they may be interpreted, but again, I would underline that every dream would have, some kind of, well, they are imprints, okay? They are tailored for each and every one individual. So all this being said, as I've also said, okay, the mind will even seek to try to, you know, Stockholm syndrome death, you know, that's how much it's gonna try, not with everyone, but with some people, especially the more fearful ones and, the simple ones, right? It doesn't matter how much you stock in your mind, okay, how much you stockpile as knowledge in your mind. There will always be things beyond the mind. That is why you may invent all sorts of ideas, all sorts of theorems and theories and whatever you want about death and such. You'll always feel the urge to find someone to explain you certain things beyond your comprehension. That is why mystics and people who can understand beyond the physical exist. Sure, there are a lot of charlatans, but, well, for every being who experiences something, there will always be those who want to replicate that. They just want a piece of it, and, well, as I've been saying, charlatans exist just because they have fallen for the trap of the mind. They are people who haven't achieved anything in life and they want the fast route to, experiencing something and, being actually something or someone. So all this being said, hopefully you like the type of videos that I create. Feel free to share them with others, to elevate them because you see, usually people who are closest to you might not necessarily listen to you, and when you try to tell them some of your experience, they kind of laugh in your face. And it happened to me that, well, I couldn't convince someone, and when I sent them to a video source, okay, another source, and a video that would explain kind of the same things that I would say, they would listen to that. And it's kind of almost the same information that I would give, except that video was, probably a bit better said, or I don't know, but the person kind of understood that. So all this being said, you're loved and appreciated. Take care of yourselves. Ferenc Jan Bohr signing out.